All right. Welcome everyone to our webinar this evening. PRC Saltillo is honored to host our wonderful webinar this evening, Our Journey, Creating a School Year of CORE. Your presenters this evening are Michaela Sullivan, Beth Lytle, and Elisa Lego. My name is Courtney Mayholtz. I will be moderating this evening's webinar along with my colleague Beth Waite-Lefevre. A few little housekeeping details as we get started this evening. I do want to make everyone aware next, the training materials are available in the handout section. You also received these in the reminder email before this evening's webinar, and they will also be available to you in a follow-up email. Please take a minute at the end of this evening's webinar to fill out the survey that will launch as you close. It only takes a minute, but it really helps us in planning for future webinars, classes, and resources. And lastly, please use that questions box that you see on the side of your toolbox, your GoToWebinar toolbox, at any time this evening to type a question to us. We are going to be monitoring those questions, and if we cannot answer questions, we should have some time at the end. With that, I'm going to turn the presentation over this evening to our presenters. Beth Lytle is going to be, I'm going to make you the presenter, and the other Beth Waite-Lefevre, and I will be monitoring your questions.
Welcome. We are honored to share our collective journey in the creation of a school year of CORE, a passion project that actually came to fruition through a variety of unexpected circumstances during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Michaela Sullivan, a speech pathologist and School Year of CORE team member. Like you, I am passionate about AAC and believe that sharing resources not only lifts up our students, but also one another. I currently work in the San Francisco Unified School District, my private practice, and I'm also a volunteer and board member of the NICA project. And now to the rest of the School Year of CORE team.
Hello, just waiting for you. Hello, so I'm Elisa Lego, another member of the School Year of CORE team. I just graduated from San Francisco State in the spring of 2021, getting my master's in speech, language, and hearing sciences. During my time at San Francisco State, I was a part of the federally funded Project Building Bridges, which really started my passion in alternative and augmentative communication. In addition to that, I got my certificate in autism spectrum, and I'm now doing my clinical fellow at the School of Imagination and Happy Talkers in the East Bay in California.
And I'm Beth Lytle, and I also graduated with Elisa this past May and went to San Francisco State. I also received the AAC certificate and was a part of the NICA project and the federally funded Project Building Bridges that allowed us to access the AAC certificate. And I am in my clinical fellowship year at the Los Altos School District in the Bay Area.
So after today's session, you will have a working knowledge of what's included in the School Year of CORE and be able to locate the free online resources. You'll be presented with a number of ways to integrate the School Year of CORE into lessons, sessions, classes, and daily life, and learn about the Level 1 and Level 2 core words and ways to explicitly teach the words across a variety of topics and categories.
So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this statistic yet, but there is an urgency in not only providing AAC services to individuals, but to provide ways for other people in their lives to help integrate it into their daily lives, both naturally and effectively, because the average 18-month-old child has been exposed to 4,380 hours of oral language at a rate of 8 hours a day from birth. However, a child who has a communication system and receives speech and language therapy 2 times per week for 20 to 30-minute sessions will reach the same amount of language exposure in 84 years. So as you can see, the whole student needs to be surrounded by family, friends, teachers, everybody in their life, because it can't just be a speech therapist twice a week. And something that I found during the journey of this whole project is that each word holds so much unique power. We want to support our students in sharing meaningful messages and connecting with others. So a little exercise that I want you guys to start off with is, how would you think about teaching the word hello? So during the whole rabbit hole that we found ourselves in over the last year, we were figuring out how to teach every single word in a variety of ways, whether it's music, science, art, using their bodies. So how would you describe or teach the word hello to someone who doesn't know what it means? Or how would you teach something a little bit more abstract, like a feeling? I'm very passionate about talking about feelings with my students, no matter their age. And it's really difficult to teach these feelings, so we need to think about it. How would you make a feeling concrete, such as excited or nervous? So I was in charge of making a lesson for the word nervous. And for my art portion, I thought about, okay, we have to think about our bodies, because a lot of the times when we're nervous, it's somewhere in our bodies. So I made a little outline of a body, and it had butterfly glitter, and I love glitter. Where would I put these butterflies? When I'm nervous, I feel them in my stomach. Someone else might feel them in their hands. So that's something that I thought about for our students to help make the solidified meaning of a feeling word, which is very tricky. So think about that as we go through this presentation. So what compelled us to start and initiate the School Year of Core project? Really, the main thing that started us was the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, for Beth and I, we were in grad school, so our whole grad school experience got transitioned to Zoom classes and teletherapy. But for a lot of people who were already practicing, this meant that their practice would, be transitioning to teletherapy, which is so much different. So we began to look for resources, free resources that could help teach core vocabulary and become therapy materials. And we realized that the resources were very limited. We also wanted to support speech language pathologists and the rest of the team, such as parents, teachers, and all of the other team members. So we started creating free core vocabulary resources to meet individual needs, as Michaela mentioned earlier. How can we meet these students where they're at? We want to cover every different learning style, different parts of the day that might be more engaging to them, such as PE or circle time, and we want to support the professionals on their team as well. During this whole process, we realized that each core word is so unique, has its own individual superpower of what that word means and how it can connect them to someone else. And it was our mission to create core resources that were free for everybody in the United States and all around the world to teach students during this really trying time. So the way that our journey began was Beth and I were taking a AAC course at San Francisco State, and we were assigned as interns to work with Michaela. At first, we were just compiling a huge arsenal of resources on a Google Drive for the entire San Francisco Unified School District speech language pathology team. Throughout doing this, Beth and I became very aware of, like, what is core vocabulary? How do you teach it? Why is it so important? Why should we be focusing and starting here? We came up with so many questions, and we had so many questions from Michaela, who's been in the field for years. So we found ourselves engaging in very deep conversations about vocabulary, which I don't know how fun that sounds to you guys, but for me, that was probably the most mentally stimulating experience of my life. We started to find out which words were meaningful to both of us or all of us, and we all heard each other's voices and saw our ideas come to fruition, which was very empowering. So during this process, we compiled lists and lists and lists of core vocabulary. Then we started to organize it based on the school year. What words would we need to teach in the beginning of the school year? Something like take a break or greetings, hello, things like that, sit for circle time. But then how can we build upon those words for the later months? So we organized these words from August through June, all these different words, and then we came up with a template to teach those words all throughout the school day. This consisted of the topics I've talked about previously, as well as different communicative functions. Then Michaela surprised us with a level 2 list of core words, which really hadn't existed anywhere. And this level 2, all these level 2 words are much more abstract, and they can really give our communication so much more depth and flavor. Everyone has their own, style of communication, and these level 2 words are unique in that they're pretty special words. Like one of the words is special, imagine, things like that, that students really need to know those words too. So I reached out to various companies to see if they could help us make symbol charts for different systems that were represented that we wanted to help those students too, like students that use LAMP, Touch Chat, Cough Drop, Avaz. I reached out to Jane Odom and was like, can you help us make symbol charts for your symbols? And Michaela during this time reached out to Carol Zangari and shared our mission, shared our project, everything we wanted to include. Carol was very, very intrigued. She gave us a deadline, she gave us a timeline, and then we found ourselves published in August. We had 32 lessons out. We worked very, very hard, but that's what we needed. We needed something to make this become a reality. So we were published on Practical AAC in August. Jane reached back out to me and asked me how the project was going, see if there was any updates. I shared with her that it's on Practical AAC and she wanted a part of it too. And we were so, so thankful for that. So Jane and Carol and I were in a group email and I was like, is this okay if both of you have it? Here's all of our resources. Everything was cleared to go. And then Jane asked us, do you guys want to come up with a logo to represent the School Year of Core on my site? It can live there. And for me, as someone who is an aspiring artist, that was one of the most empowering things to happen in my life to date. And that is the logo I created with a light bulb to represent all the aha moments that we had and all the aha moments that we hope our students and teachers and speech therapists had that are involved in our project as well. So once we had two very large global platforms for our materials, people all across the United States were not only using our materials, but asking how they could join in our project. That was very special for us. We had teachers from all over the world, or all over the United States, that helped us make materials too, which Michaela will talk about later. It was a very exciting journey and it all happened so fast. So the reasons why we communicate go far beyond requesting, and sometimes we get stuck there. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want to do next? But there's so many other reasons we communicate. We communicate to affirm people. Yes, I like this, or yes, I want that. We communicate to ask questions, to share information, to answer questions, to connect with others, to compliment them, to flirt with them, to express love, fear, safety, so many reasons. And all of these words that we're working on, core vocabulary, is like building blocks to help our students and ourselves communicate for all of these reasons, help us connect to others, make friends, and essentially improve our quality of life. Another thing I've mentioned a few times is that we wanted so many different learning styles represented. I don't know about you guys, but I personally learned so different than a lot of my friends. I like to see things visual. I like to understand it. I need to practice it a million times. And this is the reality of students all across, the world. They learn differently. So in our lessons, as Beth will go over later, you'll see so many different learning styles represented. We have visual learners, auditory learners with music. We have movement. We have sensory motor activities for every single word. How can I make this make sense for someone who's really into body? Like, do they need to move to understand this word? If I'm teaching the word stop, we're going to run and then we're going to stop. And then for someone who likes music, we'll pause the music. You need to make it make sense for your students and meet them where they're at and where they're already engaged, because when someone's intrinsically motivated, that's when learning will happen. So we had science, art, music, and all throughout the day, whether it's circle time or PE, different things like that. So that's something that was very important to us when we were creating our lessons. And like I said, I haven't said this yet, but there are so many lists of core vocabulary words that are out there. When we were compiling our lists, we found there was a ton already out there, and our lists are just one of them. But the goal of every single core vocabulary list is to provide a robust vocabulary on an individual's AAC system, which consists of a comprehensive range of words. We need our students, and our students deserve to communicate for any reason and use any words they want. That is life, and that's the superpower of communication. You can choose what you want to say, and you're not limited in your vocabulary. So we are very passionate about spreading this message. All students deserve a robust communication system that consists of both core and fringe vocabulary and letters so that they can type and practice their literacy. And I'll show you some other components of a robust communication on the next slide, but that is a huge, huge component of our project and why we're so motivated. So some other things that make a AAC system robust, like I said, hundreds and hundreds of words, whether they're nouns, verbs, prepositions, adjectives, anything like that. This gives the individual the capacity to express a range of communicative functions, such as asking for help or answering a question. It also means that this organization of their system will support a conversational flow, just as people who use verbal speech. We have a conversational flow, and our students deserve the same. And yeah, that is very important.
Thank you, Elisa. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about what exactly is a school year of core. So a school year of core is a monthly posting that we did that had approximately 16 level 1 words and 16 level 2 words that we selected as a group. We put forth activity packets, which I'll show you in a later slide, for each word that we had selected for that month. We also had data sheets, strategies of the month for every single month, and we wanted these to be used by teachers, therapists, educators, parents, anyone that can teach our students language. We wanted them to use this. The thing that was also included in our school year of core posting for the first posting were all those symbol charts that Elisa was talking about. So in our very first posting, we said, here is every way to access any word that we are going to try to have these activity packets for and that we're going to try to teach our students. So it showed you with your student's AAC device how to access that word to then see what else you can do with the activity packets that we had. Our curriculum runs from August to June. When we published it was August 2020 to June 2021. And you can join in at any part of the school year that you want to join in on. You can start in August, you can start in December, whatever works best for you. But we wanted to make it individualized for each student. And you'll be able to do that as you see the activity packets. And Michaela will touch on that more in a later slide. So our vision and our goal. Our main vision and our main goal was we wanted to give our AAC students and any student that we see a way to express meaningful and powerful messages. Most of the time when I see AAC goals, it's about requesting and communicating certain wants and needs, but that's not the only thing that our students should be communicating. They should be communicating anything they want, especially those powerful and meaningful messages. On top of that, we wanted to create a way for anyone to explicitly teach the meaning of these words and support our students in growing their vocabulary. That can be SLPs, teachers, IAs, PE teachers, principals, school psychs, parents, anyone that you can imagine that can help impact our students' vocabulary. We wanted them to be able to look at these and say, this is accessible. We can do this. It's not as intimidating as I thought it might be. And then the big thing was we wanted to provide families and caregivers at home a support during the COVID-19 pandemic, which I know is still ongoing, but we were in that lockdown phase and we came up with this and we said, we're going to do this. We're going to make this happen. And we're going to make it happen for any classroom, any teacher, and most importantly, any student to learn these words and access these materials. And we were able to do that in a well-rounded manner, like Elisa touched on, with teaching different learning styles and different student interests, which I'll show you in a later slide. And then we also made sure that you could incorporate these teaching moments into any time of the day. It can be arrival, it can be dismissal, PE, snack, circle time, calendar time. There are so many times throughout the day where you can teach core vocabulary, and it was important to us to show everyone all the different ways that you can teach core vocabulary. So how exactly is it organized? Like I mentioned earlier, each month we had a list of about 16 level 1 and 16 level 2 words. Those are published month by month, not much. And level 1 is a foundation of words. So those are your basic, I, want. We did for August wash because we knew washing hands was going to be a major component to their school day. So those are your foundational words that you have. As you progress through the different months and through the different words, you'll find yourself accessing the level 2 words. And again, if you finish level 1 in, say, April, you can start level 2 right away in May. You don't have to wait until the following August if that's where your students are at. So the level 2, like Elisa said, has those more in-depth words. Words that are a little bit more abstract, not as easy to grab and maintain and try to teach, but there's still words that we thought were extremely important for our students. And the way we selected these words is we looked at the school calendar, but also the supports and the needs of our students during those months. We looked at Brown's morphemes, we looked at the previously posted a year of core vocabulary words that are on Practical AAC, and many other robust communication systems. And we talked and we talked and we spent hours, and we would be having a conversation and we would say a word and we would realize that's not on our list. That was just so important and powerful for us as creators, and we need to put this on our list. And then we figured out which month it belonged in, we added it, and then we just kept going and going. There's really no stopping point to an extent, but that's how it's organized. These are our level 1 words. I'll leave them up for just a minute so you guys can see them. But like I said, in August for level 1, it's the I, me, hi, hello, bye, goodbye, help, stop, go, want, play, those words that you think your students will really need at the beginning of the year. September also follows along that path. October, we started going to feelings because you can carve jack-o'-lanterns or you can draw on paper pumpkins, different emotions. So we tied some emotions into October. In November, we added in some things for cooking for the holidays. In December, we added the feelings that we thought would be associated with that holiday break. January is welcome, welcome back to school. You're back here after having 2 weeks off. February, we touched upon a little bit more of those wants and needs words. March, we just kept going. April, we're gearing up for summer. May, we're getting ready, we're almost done. And then in June, proud is a really important word for us because we are so proud of how all of our students did during the school year. We are so proud of all the progress that they made, and they should be so proud of themselves. That's level 1. And then level 2, as you can see, is more in depth. Again, we start with some things that would be better for coming out of the summer. So outside, inside. Were you outside during the summer? Were you inside during the summer? How was your summer? How are you? We move into October, like we were saying with the jack-o'-lanterns. It's also, that's when art projects really start taking off because of the Halloween month. And so it's glue and paint and messy, and maybe you're having a Halloween party. November touches even more on that Thanksgiving theme with thankful and the cooking words. December is touching on, what do you wish to do over break? What do you believe? Are you going to fly somewhere? Are you going to drive somewhere? Then in January, we touched upon those opposite words, so light and dark. And then February is a really important month for us because of the words beautiful and special and imagine and dream and hope. Those are words that were really important to us as educators, and we thought were going to be so important for our AAC users. And then we continue on in the same theme as level 1, and you start gearing up for summer, and then it's almost time to be done. And then your last word in June is see you later. I'll see you next year, or I'll see you later if we're going to different schools next year. But those are how our level 1 and level 2 words are organized. Then we created these activity packets. So we thought, what do you do during a school day? What do we need to be able to teach our students? And so the first thing Michaela said was, well, communication functions. They're so important. It's how we can use these words, and there are so many different ways to use every single word. So that's the very first thing on our packet. The next thing we have are routines and schedules. So this varies depending on the packet and when you can teach this word, but it can be morning circle time, snack time, recess, PE, dismissal, cleanup, anything along those lines. And then we have play. This can be a specific game or specific toys, or it can be recess, anything that involves play for our students. Then we have reading. We had books that were accessible on YouTube that are read aloud. Those are the books that we use so that you can play a video in case you did not have access to that book. It was important for us that no one would have to buy anything to have these activity packets be accessible to them. We wanted these books on YouTube so you didn't have to go buy them. The social interactions, there's a social interaction for every single word, and we racked our brains and we found the social interaction for every single word that we have on that list. Same thing with sensory motor. This could be using the sand bucket that we have for the word use to pull out different items. We also did structured activities. So this could be a writing prompt or sentence frames, but something that can be a structured activity in your classroom. We had videos, music, animated shorts. This varied based upon the word, and if there were some words that were a little trickier to find a song for, we made sure to put a prompt in there of how you could use this word to talk about the music that we put in there. We had art and science, and then we found apps or a different technology for every single word that was on there. And then the important thing for us that we've discussed was how to incorporate a word wall. If you don't know what a word wall is, it's words that you put up around the wall so that your students can learn them. And in our activity packets, we have a pretty detailed link explaining how to use a word wall. So the big question that we came up with is, does any one list contain all the words that you can use? As you think about that, you're like, well, maybe the dictionary, maybe some of these core vocabulary lists, and the answer is no. There's no one list that can contain all the words that you may need. But the important thing is the words that you need and that your students need, you should add to your list. You should do whatever you want to make sure that you have those words accessible to you and your students. And that's what we tried to do with our lists. And our other question is, does core vocabulary expansion ever end? Again, the answer is no, it never ends. You can always add to your core vocabulary. There were some words when we were talking that I was like, do I really know the meaning of that word? And then I realized, yeah, you know what, I do, but now I really have solidified that I know the meaning of this word. And I think that can continue to happen for all of us, for all of our students, and for everyone that we interact with. So School Year of Core provides resources to add to your AAC implementation toolkit or any vocab toolkit to assist you to teach the meaning of core words through meaningful and daily opportunities. This is one example of a symbol chart that we have that we created, as you guys can see, and then on the right-hand side is a data sheet. There's a data sheet that goes with every single month that Elisa created, and it has, positives, what did we learn? Minuses, what can we change? Question mark, what do we have questions about? And then you can add your dates and the progress so that you can take data and you don't have to make these data sheets for yourselves.
So as we've talked about so far, another huge part of our project and our mission was to support everybody who is supporting our students. So all of our AAC facilitators, whether that be parents, teachers, classroom aides, speech language pathologists, anybody. So the first and foremost really important strategy that we included was aided language stimulation. And for those of you who maybe don't know this yet, aided language stimulation is when you are saying the word and modeling it on their device. Other strategies that we included was wait time, following the child's lead, personalizing and customizing a child's AAC system, ensuring the AAC system is available at all times, descriptive teaching, recasting, extending, expanding, and elaborating, shared reading, the participation model, and presuming competence. And we're going to highlight some of the ones that we found to be very, very important strategies in the next few slides, and I'll just briefly summarize those. So like I said, aided language stimulation was our first strategy, and this strategy all of our strategies live at the top of that month. Whatever strategy is for that month, they're at the top of that sheet for every single word at the top of that activity packet. They also live separate in both places, just as a longer sheet that explains the strategy very in depth and has some videos. So at the top of each sheet is just basically a cheat sheet. But that was our first strategy, was aided language stimulation, because we thought everyone needs to start out knowing and mastering this first. Another strategy we wanted to highlight today was wait time. Our students with complex communication needs and students who might not have complex communication needs, everybody has different processing times, and it's extremely important that us as professionals, whether we're speech language pathologists, teachers, or parents, even though you guys might be so busy, we need to give our students tons of wait time. I've waited up to 30 seconds before, and even longer for students, and even in those final seconds, I'm like, should I say it again? Nope, they get it. They stand up, they do exactly what we're gonna do, and we just need to give them that time to understand, because they're also dealing with another level of communication. They have to think, okay, what did I just get asked, or what am I supposed to say back? What is my message gonna be? How am I gonna find this word on my device? So we need to give them that time. We don't wanna stress them out. And there are videos and examples for this too. Another one that's very important is personalizing and customizing an individual's AAC system. So like all of us have our own style, whether it be clothes or music, our students have that too, and it needs to be represented on their system, whether that means that the icons are different sizes to help them, visually see it better, if there's a background color, if they want different symbols, different colors, if they want their family and friends represented on their device or their favorite foods, We need to do that for our students, and it's very motivating for them as well to help pick out the colors. I've done that before and it worked so well. We also want to be mindful of the voice we're selecting for them to be their voice. They should be able to choose that. I've had someone choose a British accent. Go ahead, buddy. It's yours. Like, whatever their voice is, they deserve to choose it. So that's something we really want to push to all of our professionals and teachers helping. And these might change over time as the student grows up. Another huge strategy and kind of life philosophy of mine is presuming competence. We need to be the ones instilling confidence and competence into our students. We need to give them the time to show us what they know, because they do, and they're capable of anything. And if we're the ones supporting them and their parents are supporting them, then there's really no limit to what they can achieve. So we need to be presuming competence in all of our students, because they know more than we think they know.
Thank you, Elisa. So like Elisa said, that'll be at the top of each activity packet, but this is an in-depth look at what each section looks like. So this is communicative functions. This is for the word stop. So here are all the different ways that someone came up with how to use the word stop. So you can request, protest, get help, question, answer questions. There are all these different ways to use the word stop, and we wanted to do that for every single word that we had. Next, like I said, are the routines and schedules. This is for the word wash. These are different things that you can use throughout the school day to teach a student the word wash. This is routines and schedules for the word clean. So there are all these different routines and schedules. It's washing hands, washing toys, laundry, cleaning your AAC device, which is extremely important, and then even recess or playing outside. How can you do things that are clean, or if you get dirty, saying, oh, I need to really clean myself when I go back inside. Then we have play. So these are different ways that somebody came up with to use the word wash while you're playing. So they can use water play, and they can be given a sponge and they can wash things if they want to. And then at recess, it's again indicating, oh, I got mud on my hands, I got dirt on my hands, I need to go wash them. And then for play, this is for the word go. So here are all the different ways that you can model or use the word go when you're playing with a student. This is reading, and like I said, there are the YouTube links that are linked there that have the author's name, and if it's read aloud by somebody else or from a different channel, we make sure to credit that person in that channel. Social interactions and video modeling for the word help. This is how we thought we could teach the word help for social interactions. And then it's continued on for the word awesome, which I know Elisa made this one and did awesome. And you can show students how they can compliment each other and themselves and their communication partners and say, you are so awesome. Thank you for talking to me. Sensory motor for the word go. Here are different ways you can use sensory motor. Structured activities, like I said, we have the predictable writing chart. And this was something we use frequently because it's important to give students the opportunity to fill in what they want, because something that I may think is awesome may not be what my student thinks is awesome. And that's okay. Everyone's entitled to what they think is awesome, but I want to know what they think is awesome. And then videos, music, animated shorts. Here are the different YouTube links with different songs. And if there's an animated short, it's also in there. I know this one we just captured songs for, but that's how it's listed out. Art or science, this one is so impressive to me. This one we used, I believe, for grow. It might have been clean. But these were different ways that I know Michaela came up with another core contributor who she'll touch on later, but all the different ways that we could teach this in art or science. This is what the use of apps or technology would look like in our activity packet. This is how we do the word wall, and that article right there, or the video, is touching upon how to choose words and what a word wall looks like in a classroom. And then for big picture for you guys, this is what an entire activity packet would look like. So it's sectioned out like that, but we did a zoomed in view for you, and then this is what it looks like as a whole. And then that's the end, and at the very end of the activity packet, it does credit who made that activity packet, which is extremely important to us, and I know Michaela will touch on that shortly. But that is what an activity packet looks like. And here's another one for special.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Beth, for that thorough, comprehensive review of our activity packets. And again, we had a vision to not only create free core word resources, but to create a community of core contributors who would share our mission and join us in this mission, because as you can see, they are so thorough and so packed with information that we hope that you can use. Obviously, not everything is going to be relatable to your student, but hopefully some of it will, and it will really lighten your load. And we, you know, the quote, "If you build it, they will come." We were hoping that that would happen for our project, and it did, because I think that so many people believed in sharing and giving of these resources. A few months after our first posting on Practical AAC, a few people emailed us or even commented in Practical AAC, and we reached back, and we even got, you know, we received messages from a special education teacher in Kansas, and not Kansas, what am I saying, in Pennsylvania. And she joined us because we asked her, you know, you're asking some great questions. Why don't you please join us? And I think you could really contribute. And so as the months went by, our core contributor team grew to 25 core contributors strong. And who were on the team? Who was on the team? Speech pathologists, special education teachers, assistive technology specialists, a university professor, and numerous students in the San Francisco State Speech Language Pathology Master's Program. Our team consisted of members from California, Pennsylvania, and even Connecticut. It is at this time that I wish to acknowledge each and every core contributor who selflessly gave of their time. We cannot be more grateful for sharing your talents, your time, your creativity, and your spirit of sharing. At this time, I would like to proudly name each and every one of you. Abby Duarte, Alice Mui, Amy Burt, Adriana Nicolau, Beth Kenny, Carol Ann Cormier, Diana Angeles, EJ Picarillo, Gail Cho, Jamie Diner, Jessica Yoshimura, Jessica Osagira, Jordan Stoltrager, Kelsey Robin, Nico Liu, Mary Hamilton, Megan Rose Barron, Moira Aikita, Molly Hartzell, Nicole Natali, Samantha Lynn, Shanaz Faisal, Sophie Goodwin, Wes Heinrich, and Dr. Nancy Robinson. I get a little misty when I name these team members because I know how hard they worked, and it's just it's an incredible project, and we really hope that that your practice is only benefited from our work. Thank you. So we held meetings and brainstormed ideas to create this team, which, by the way, I've never met Beth or Elisa in person to this day. It's all been virtual, believe it or not. So we held meetings with everybody to brainstorm, share ideas. We provided resources in a shared Google Drive to support one another. We created lesson templates, a list of descriptive, and a description of apps, you know, because a lot of people didn't have the apps in their arsenal because they didn't have the money. And so we shared which each one was with a little description, and met with them in person if they had questions and wanted to add it to their list or their activity packet. We shared information about communication functions, and even one of the core contributors, Jordan Stoltrager, shared and did a whole presentation on boom cards. And to this day, some of our core contributors now create boom card decks. And so a shout out there to Jordan and everybody. We believe that working in teams really benefited our whole project. And then we found out that working in teams with a single core word benefited the activity packets even further. It made them the resources richer, more diverse, and more expansive. So don't be surprised if you see 2, 3, or even 4 people who worked on an activity packet that turned out to be like 10 or 12 or 13 pages long. And yeah, it was really fun to work in teams. And you know, some of us didn't even know one another, but we just divided and conquered, and we really got to know each other in a different way, and we all learned a lot, a real lot. So what did we learn from this project? A few core contributors shared what they learned, and we'd like to share that with you. So Beth Kenny, our special education teacher from Hershey, Pennsylvania, she saw that there was such power in collaboration beyond the walls of her own school. And she learned the value of collaboration in order to work smarter, not harder, which is something we all strive to do. I know I do year after year. And Samantha Lynn, who is in her CF in a SNF in Hayward, really realized the power of core vocabulary with each and every lesson she created, each and every activity packet. And Jamie Diner, a close colleague of mine from San Francisco Unified, didn't realize how many ways she could use a core word with all the different communication functions and all the activities. So that was eye-opening for her. Further, Shanaz Faisal, who works in Santa Clara Unified in her clinical fellowship year, found it to be an educational experience, not only for her as a clinician, but it also helped clients and families. And I personally learned that students, regardless of their cognitive skills, really benefited from learning at least 4 or up to 4 core vocabulary words a week, just to really impact their attention and motivation. And it really enriched our lessons. And for me personally, it helped me feel more satisfied and gave me a greater sense of accomplishment as I went through each core word. And I felt that, wow, I really accomplished something today. And that's a great feeling because sometimes we just get caught up in the weeds and we don't realize how much we do for our students. But this really helped me get organized and satisfied with what I was doing. And it was a great feeling. And Andriana also felt that it helped her organize the introduction of core words. Carolyn Cormier, a close colleague of mine from the Capital Region Education Council, who hopefully is here tonight. As a veteran SLP, Carolyn really found this project a bit daunting or a little overwhelming. And for her, being the creative person, she can do anything. Thinking of ideas, finding and vetting resources, she found it to be a very time-consuming effort, which it was, especially if you wanted to do a great job, which everybody did. And I think she said that many people might find it intimidating. So, you know, I have to be honest, some months I'm like, can I do this again? Have I run out of ideas? And that's where the teams came in. So I'd like to share Carol Ann's words verbatim. She said, the project reaffirmed that our field is a wonderful giving field. The score of volunteers that put many hours into developing the resources did it because it's something we all believe to be best practice for teaching our students who use AAC and want to make this practice something that can be implemented by every one of our students alone and not for any recognition. And that's why I look at the core contributors with such gratitude. And I know that they have just given so much of themselves in the spirit of caring about all of their students and wanting to share these resources across the country and for whoever could use them. You know, I feel that as a speech pathologist, we're always reinventing the wheel. And I hope that these resources help you to maybe give you greater ideas about maybe you have a great idea that you would like to share, and maybe there's something burning inside of all of you. And anyway, I look forward to hearing about whatever that might be. I would like to also share EJ Picarillo's video. She is also from the Capital Region Educational Council, and I would love to have you hear what she had to say.
everyone. My name is EJ Picarillo, and I am a speech and language pathologist and AT and AAC specialist for the Capital Region Education Council, or CREC, in Connecticut. I was fortunate enough to be one of the contributors to the School Year of Core project this year, and I'm happy to answer some questions about the project and its use. So the first question is, how can this resource help others? I think this resource is a fantastic entry point to planning a therapeutic language session or a coaching session with a family. It's relevant for someone that's just starting to support an AAC user, or it's relevant for someone that has a lifetime of experience. Anybody can use this. The thing that I love most, and my selling point, if you will, when I recommend this resource to professionals and families, is just how easy and effortless it is to use. Each page comes ready to go with activities, ideas for implementation, links to resources and tools, and very, very practical, realistic suggestions. It's low prep and very high impact, and a lot of the heavy lifting has already been done for you. I have turned to it multiple times over the past year in my clinical practice, and I highly, highly recommend that you definitely check it out. The second question is, what did you learn from this project? So I was very quickly able to experience how time-consuming it is to prepare a well-thought-out therapeutic session targeting language in just 1 or 2 core words. It takes a lot of time. I also learned to appreciate the flexibility of words and how multiple meanings can serve different purposes in communication and have different impacts. I also learned how powerful our community is of professionals who have an interest in supporting AAC users, and I feel really fortunate to have worked on this project with so many other brilliant minds far outside of my little bubble in Connecticut. And the last question is, how might you use this in your own practice or your own school district? So my answer is a little twofold, or a little complicated, because I have used this resource in several different ways. My typical role during the school year is a consultant for AT and AAC. So I do a lot of professional development that really gives me a platform to recommend this resource to SLPs and other professionals that I work with. But this past summer, I had the opportunity to service a more traditional speech and language caseload, and I used it with in-person students and virtual remote students whose family was right there. I used these lesson plans to help guide sessions for students that I didn't know very well who had devices and communication systems. And I also shared this resource with parents who expressed that it was incredibly helpful for them to think of practical ways to support AAC at home. I really cannot stress how excellent and useful this resource has been for me, and most likely will be for you too. So I highly recommend anyone watching this to go and check it out.
So most of this has already been said, but I just wanted to highlight one last time that these resources can help others because they have very abstract core words as well. This provides the opportunity for students to have a deep dive into more expansive language and vocabulary development. And it also has visuals for students in the form of symbol charts that serve as almost like a cheat sheet for everybody involved. That was very helpful for me over the last year. And this is not just for students who use AAC. Although it was developed for that mission, we have found, and I've used it with other students who don't use AAC and who are other students that just need to grow their vocabulary. This is a great way to just solidify students' understandings of words. This can be used for any student, any age, as Michaela will touch on in a little bit. It's not just for AAC. So just a few more things about what our core contributors had to say, how this can help others. Jamie believed that this could help others find a structured approach to AAC implementation with strategies and specific activities, which is very beneficial. And Diana found that School Year of Core helps everybody from someone who has no idea how to work with students who use AAC to someone who's a total expert. There's no limit to who this might help. And Beth Kenny, who was our special education teacher, found that this resource would be perfect for those who know they should be teaching core vocabulary but didn't know where to start. And Samantha Lynn found that this would help AAC educators get ideas on how to have a fun using and teaching core words to AAC users. And the one I really want to highlight on this page for the sake of time is Gail. She found that this compilation of ideas and information saves time, is easy to use, and provides opportunities for students to practice using core across the day. She found that it helps the team dive in and provides a structured and systematic approach to teaching and learning core words. And she referred to the school year of core as a work of heart, which I love.
And for the sake of time, I know where's the time gone? How might the core contributors use these resources in their own practice? I know EJ touched upon many of these things. Beth thought that they are good to go, ready to go, and she integrates them throughout the day. Samantha wants to create communication boards in a SNP with core vocabulary, and Diana shares it with parents, teachers, and many others. Jamie will share this resource with colleagues and even new SLPs. Andriana is going to pull activities for therapy sessions. Gail is going to collaborate with speech pathologists and teachers and maybe do large group lessons. And I also agree with Gail about that. I use it in individual and small group and large group lessons. And I've also used it to adapt for lessons for older students, because if you look at the resources, they're really geared more towards younger students. So how might we adapt these resources for older students? So here's an example of using August words weeks 1 and 2, incorporating both level 1 and 2 words for a theme being summer and about me, which is what we often do for the first week or 2 of school. The format was within Google Slides, and the content, some available resources in School Year of Core and some other added resources in media. So I just put the words in thought bubbles and did not, for purposes of literacy, those are week 1 words. And then we would talk about the words in week 2 words. The next slide, there we go. And then the next slide shows how we can incorporate the word I, and we often talk about how people are feeling when we start a lesson or a group activity, and we can incorporate I with I feel blank. The next slide will show you how we incorporate saying hi to one another, as Elisa was talking about, and the next slide talks about who do you want to say hi to? We could go beyond just saying hi in general, but I want to say hi to this friend, and maybe it's a new friend. Let's go to the next slide. We could also read a book from Tar Heel Reader about greetings and saying hello and different ways to do that. We often need to ask for help. We talk about the word help. It's such an important word, and how we use it in the community. And we used a video by Wingworks, which is awesome. I love that video. And then ask the question, who helps you at home? Who helps you at school? And then, of course, the classic song by the Beatles, Help. You could use any song you'd like. Let's go to the next slide. We could talk about summer. We could have the Will Smith Summertime song, if you'd like that, and do some predictable chart writing, incorporating the word had and the word I. I had, describe summer. I had a great session the other day in a high school, incorporating the word had with Dirty Dancing, which seems like to go across generations. It never gets old. Hats off to Dirty Dancing. It's a great movie and a great some great music. Where did you go this summer? I went, so we're incorporating the past tense. And for people who aren't at the past tense level, they could talk about where did they go. We can adapt that. We talk about inside and outside, things I did inside, things I did outside during the summer. Let's go to the next slide. This summer was better than last summer, not much of a competition. The summer before we were locked down. So we could talk about how this summer was better than last summer because, and do some predictable chart writing. We talked about the word funny and incorporated, next slide, to who is funny? Are there any TV or movies or games that you think are funny? And do you have any funny jokes? So this is sort of a way to get to know a person's likes and you know, whether they're jokesters and just laugh, have a great time, which if we're not having a good time, they're not. So we could talk about the Big Bang Theory and, you know, tease out, you know, we could compare videos. Which one do you think is funnier? It just could go on and on. You're all so creative out there, I know it. These resources, again, they are just springboards to spark your ideas and your creativity, as Jamie said. The core word play, what type of things do you play? Who do you play with? Let's make some sentences incorporating the word play and maybe talk about playing some music. Who wants to play music? Let's go to the next one. We could incorporate want with music. Who wants to hear some music? I do or I don't want music. Next slide. We could listen to a song that contains the word want or stop. We've got some old school, we've got some new school. I have to say Backstreet Boys often gets chosen. The word want, what do you want to learn this year? And where do you want to go? This is often helpful in high school and transition programs. And did you meet anyone new today? And we can talk about that. I mean, these slides could be a platform for half your session. HIP, this animated short that always gets me misty, but you know, it doesn't take much these days. Who did this dog meet today? Did he help others? Anyway, it just really, today I just used it in an elementary class and the kids just loved it and they related to it. Everyone loves dogs and everyone loves Pip. And at the end of the session, it's time to stop working. Let's take a break. What do you like to do to relax? Really good for self-regulation. We all need to take a break. And then we end with a song, Stop, Michael Jackson versus JT, take your pick. And we can say goodbye. And then there's a Beatles song, hello and goodbye. And let's go to the next slide.
Thank you, Michaela. Thank you for sharing how you can adapt that. And I know Michaela stressed at the beginning, but really anyone can adapt any lesson to fit the student that you're servicing appropriately. But quickly to touch on, where can I find these resources? Like we've mentioned, you can find them on Practical AAC and on the AAC Language Lab. In that handout that's linked to this session, I've laid out step-by-step on how you would access the materials within each website. So you can follow the steps, and if the steps don't make sense, I included the link at the end of the handout as well. We'd like to give a big, big, big thank you to Carol Zingari. She is the one who took this passion project, this idea that we had, and said, let's make it a reality. You guys are right. This is a great idea. Let's make this happen and let's publish it for the world to see. So thank you, Carol. We would not be here without you.
We also really want to thank Jane Odom. Empress Jane Odom. She is so amazing. Her sense of humor was so inspiring, and she really gave us a second platform and so much insight to the way it ran in the background, which was really, really cool. So we really appreciated her wisdom as our project grew larger and larger.
We're just so grateful to be here. We're grateful to all the core contributors. We're grateful to you being here today. We're grateful for PRC Saltillo to allow us to present today. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please email us and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies, so much for sharing this amazing resource. You can probably see in the comments now, but people are just coming in with all of the thank yous and all of the wonderful resources that you have provided, and just commenting on what a great resource this is. So thank you so much for taking the time to share it with us this evening. I do want to just mention that this is, if you have to go and you are seeking those ASHA credits, you have met that time requirement, but we do have a few questions. If you all have a few minutes and you want to answer some of maybe the more pressing ones, please feel free to stay on, and don't forget to submit those ASHA. If you are leaving, don't forget to submit those ASHA forms to us within 15 days, and you can find those materials either in the handout section or in the follow-up email. Again, thank you. Just so many comments about what a great resource this is. And if I could get to my questions, we could start. There we go. So one of the questions that we got really early on, and there might have just been there was a little bit of confusion, just wanted to clarify. You are able to, with these resources, if you start like later in the year, do you have to start from the beginning? That was how you mentioned, how you had them broken down by month, if you just want to talk to that for a minute.
You can start anywhere you'd like, anywhere you feel comfortable, anywhere your student, you can pick and choose from all the months of the year and organize it whatever way you would like to organize it. That's how I interpret it. I don't know if Beth and Elisa have a different idea.
Yes,
No,
you
I
can
think
choose
as
any
well.
word in particular and start there. There's no rules. There are seriously no rules. You can even use just one part of each activity packet. We just went really crazy and organized it in so many different ways, but it's really however it will help you guys, your students.
Great. And I think you all spoke to this a little bit at the end when you were going through how you could use this with resources in different populations, but there were some questions earlier about, modifying this for early intervention or pre-K populations, or maybe looking at, one question was looking at mild populations in lower elementary or pre-K. Do you have any suggestions or how to do that or speak to that?
So I'll start and then I'll pass the mic to them. I would say look at the activity packet, whatever sticks, whatever you think will work, choose that. And you can take whatever you want and leave the rest. So if you're working with a really young kid, maybe focus on the sensory motor and the music, and the predictable chart writing probably wouldn't be applicable. But it's whatever you think will help that student's age. Like I said, there's no rules. You choose what you think would benefit that student, and you can use that part, and the rest could be for different students. Every student, would benefit from this in a different way.
I agree completely. And then I've even taken words from here and I've used them for articulation students that I have. They don't have to be an AAC user. We can still use that word and use these different activities to really touch on that sound that they need to improve upon.
Great. Lots of good ideas. Apologies, my computer's frozen up again, my goodness. And then one of the other questions we had was about goal writing. So how did you write your goals? Did you target a certain number of core words, or did you target functions, or what was that process?
I target both. And I might name a number of core words that I target. I might name them specifically, or I might just give a number and then indicate the communication function that I want the student to be able to achieve.
Okay.
I don't know if you all want to comment from there.
I think you said it perfectly, Michaela.
Oh, you're kind.
Great. Can you tie the core words in with Tier 1 vocabulary or Common Core or ELA or any of those kinds of school?
The speaking and listening, definitely. I would say as a speech pathologist, you can look at the Common Core and tie anything into and utilize core words receptively or expressively, I would believe. But it all depends on your student and their skills and needs.
Great. Let's see, and I'm just looking, those were the ones that I had. Just lots more comments about what a wonderful resource this is. And
Thank you.
One idea I do have that just goes with the monthly curriculum and whatever that may be, but for a lot of our words, we really wanted to highlight, Martin Luther King Day or Black History Month, and how you can teach these students the words imagine or dream, because that's, one of the lessons. I've also taught science with words like grow and things like that, and made lessons for just specific words and help the teachers push that into their classroom. So look at whatever the month that they're talking about, learning about, collaborate with the teachers and find specific words that you think should be highlighted that month. It's worked really well for me in the past with teachers and their curriculum.
And we had a few special educators who added sections for math, and if you look at the word clean, Mary Hamilton did an incredible job for clean. I think we had clean and dirty that month, and I was just shocked because she had like a science experiment, and you know, again, the richness of the activity packets, you know, are just, it just gives you, as Jamie Diner said, it sparks your other ideas. It's a great platform to spring from. We hope.
Yes, it is.
We believe.
No, it's a great resource. Lots of people are very inspired by the comments. And just one final question I think that I think is worth addressing maybe is, where would you or how do you suggest parents carry over at home with these resources, or have you thought about that?
I say parents at home, your kid just had a really long day at school, so do the fun stuff. Do the art, do the music, use it like during it, pick one part of your day and just focus there, whether it's mealtime or bedtime. Choose a few words and talk about it there. I mean, maybe you can talk about their dreams before they go to bed and what they want to dream about and things like that, but choose the fun stuff and make home fun, because school is hard work.
And reading, the books are really fun to talk about. And under the word read, we also talked about dialogic reading under the word read. And, you know, dialogic reading is a very big passion of mine. And I would hope that, I hope that people can look at that section maybe and you know, sort of teach parents about, you can read books, but you can also just talk about what they see in the pictures. And it's great for emergent readers and literacy and just expressive language in general and vocabulary development. So.
Great. Well, thank you for all the wonderful ideas. I'm going to, on behalf of the AAC community, thank you all for putting all your time and work into this project. It was certainly a wonderful resource. Thank you for sharing it with us. Thank you for joining us this evening and talking about it and giving people this great overview and these wonderful ideas to get started. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.